Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Now, I wanted to let you know that I'm having a lot of fun using this camera. I have had this camera for the last 4 weeks now, and I feel very comfortable giving a review, although I'm going to take a couple of more weeks before I formulate a complete review. But today I'm going to talk about the top 10 things that I absolutely love about this camera. And I think this is probably the only hybrid camera in the market at the price point that it's selling. So guys, if you like the Nikon Z8, or if you want to buy the Nikon Z8, go for it. My verdict is it's absolutely the best camera that I have used so far. Let's get talking about the top 10 things. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments. If you like my videos, do subscribe. If you want me to show you something, if you want me to go ahead and talk about something that'll help you make a decision, right? Or if you want to learn something from the feature sets that this camera has, let me know. I'd love to help you out. Okay, so with that being said, the number one thing that I absolutely love about this camera is the sensor shield right here. You see, you can't see the sensor, which also means that when I'm changing my lenses, I am least bothered about my lenses getting dust over them or getting something over them that messes up my sensor, and I have to go back and clean my sensor again. No, so that's a fantastic feature that Nikon has on their cameras. Number two, stacked sensor. Now the benefits of a stacked sensor are quite varied actually. The stacked sensor enables the speed and accuracy at which data gets processed, imaging data gets processed, and that's why this camera works so fast. If you look at the market, there is no camera with a stacked sensor at the price that it's selling, full frame camera at the price that this camera is selling. So again, fantastic. And I don't know how to say this, but I've been using this camera for the last 1 week for street photography, and I've been using the 28mm. This lens is freaking light. I'm not sure how they made it so light, but the combination just is fantastic. See right there, that's how it looks like right there. Fantastic combination. So again, the second one was the stacked sensor. Coming up on third is the autofocus and auto exposure mechanism. Now, a lot of people talk about the autofocus, right? About Nikon Z cameras. I want to confirm that there is no issue with the autofocus. And by the way, I am a Sony user. You've seen my Sony cameras earlier, right? So Sony A1 is definitely one of the best cameras when it comes to autofocus. Period, end of story. But you cannot compare the A1 to Z8. The A1 goes for $2,000 more than the Z8, and I'm not sure you want to pay $2,000 for autofocus, which is a slight difference only. This one, autofocus wise, is nearly the same that Sony A1 has. So again, don't get misled by paid YouTubers who go back and compare it to a Sony A1 and talk about the autofocus mechanism. No. And I know a lot of YouTubers who sniff the cameras, the sniff test, and YouTubers who take portraits in Chicago, right? And they want amazing autofocus for their portraits. Who the heck are you trying to talk to? I mean, you need autofocus for portraits, and autofocus isn't working for Nikon Z. I take portraits all day. Don't get into those YouTubers' words. Save your $2,000. Go with the Nikon Z8. This is the best hybrid camera in the market today for the price that it's selling. Period. End of story. At number 4 is the Nikon color science. Now that's a debatable one. A lot of people will talk about that it's a raw image, so color science really doesn't matter. It does. It does. I can assure you that the Nikon colors are the ones that brought me back. I went into Sony. Sony had amazing autofocus, but something was off with their colors, something was off with the files, and so I came back into Nikon. And again, the file system is so simple to use. It's as simple as the Canon file systems. But the coloring, the color rendering that I get out of Nikon is way different, way more flexible to process, along with the dynamic range, and their ISO, low ISO capabilities help me a lot. So again, the color science is the fourth topic that I would recommend that everybody go for when they use this camera. The fifth one is the handling. Absolutely love this handling, and I think I spoke about this in my last video. Handling. This reminds me of my favorite camera, the Nikon D750. So easy, so simple to handle. The grip is deep enough for my hands to go around it, and my hands are not that small, so it's like easy to hold, even if big lenses are there. So again, very easy to work with. This camera is very easy to work with, very easy to handle, and the grip, it feels like a very high quality grip, a very high quality camera. Next one is the frames per second. 20 frames per second RAW and 120 frames per second JPEG. JPEG images are just fine. 11 megapixel JPEG, just fine. Guess what? When you see the billboards with 5 or 6 or 7 or even 11 megapixels up there taken by an iPhone, if it can, 11 megapixel is a huge number of pixels. So I would not worry about getting a JPEG at 120 frames per second. Go for it, guys. Sports pictures, you will be capturing certain shots that you would not be able to capture at 20 frames per second. Agreed. But if you want to still stay with RAW, 20 frames per second is plenty. Just go with it. At number 7 is the video specs, and that is where this camera impresses me. It's one camera that I just end up using for my photos and my videos. So I'm not really going after a photo camera and then picking up a video camera for my videos. I just flick this switch right here, right there. I just flick that switch and changes from video to photo. And the video specs are so amazing that I think the video specs are better than the photo specs. The autofocus full time captures the image and tracks the person as he moves, or tracks the animal that it moves. Amazing. Now, I have been using this, and I'm going to show some images to you in my next video. I've been using this for animal autofocus with the 200 to 500 lens from Nikon F, and I have no complaints about that. You can change to video, take some videos with birds diving into the water to catch fish, as well as track the birds flying. I'm not having that. I'm not having those issues. Just make sure that your ISO is around, your speed is around 1250, right? 20 frames per second is fine. ISO could be 5000 depending on the light that you're working on. And aperture 4.5 to 6.3 to even aperture 8 is f8 is just fine. Okay, so keep those in mind. The next one is the EVF. Now, the Nikon EVF has always impressed me. Don't go by the specs don't go by the specs, but by the natural look to it. So when I look through the EVF, the look is so natural. It doesn't strain my eyes. But if I look at a Canon or if I look at a Sony, I feel like I'm looking at a TV screen. And I don't like that. I don't like that feel. This one gives me the feel for an optical viewfinder. Although it's not an optical viewfinder, because the optical viewfinder feels much better, to be honest with you. But this one is the electronic viewfinder, and the response rate is the best. I mean, there is no delay in the response rate from the pictures that you're taking, but the view that you're seeing over there versus what's actually happening over there. So again, you will realize it when you take sports action photos and move from the Nikon Z8 to, say, a Sony A7 IV. or A7 R5, sorry. The ninth one is the rear LCD. The rear LCD is, I think it's the best in the industry. I don't think Sony or I don't think Canon has a better LCD than this. The touchscreen is so functional. You see, the touchscreen is so functional that it kind of reminds me of an iPhone. That's how functional, that's how responsive the touchscreen is. Fantastic. I love touching the screen, changing my menu. Even a lot of my video, I just leave my screen open. Focus, I don't have to keep touching it, that I used to do in my D8 50 days. But overall, no complaints with the rear LCD. And finally, the 10th one, sorry, not the 5th, the 10th one is the ISO 64 capabilities in an Nikon. Amazing. The amount of dynamic range that you can pull out of it is fantastic. So with that being said, those are the top 10 feature sets that the Nikon Z8 has. Thank you, and I'm going to upload my second video with the pictures. Subscribe to my channel and watch my photos, watch my videos, and if you think there's something that I can answer your question, please don't hesitate, let me know. Talk to you soon. Bye.